The Lord be with you. Let us pray. Almighty and most merciful God, we remember before you all those persons whom it would be easy for us to forget. The homeless and the destitute, the old and the sick, and all who have none to care for them. Help us to heal those who are broken in body or spirit, and to turn their sorrow into joy. Grant this for the love of your Son, who for our sake became poor, Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Amen. Good morning. Welcome to this edition of the Rector's Forum. I'm so glad that you all are here. Today we have the wonderful opportunity to hear about a ministry that we at St. Peter's have been intimately and very closely involved with for some time. Trinity Food Ministry. Some of you may have taken bags home last week that you brought back today that will be taken down to the food pantry. And so, as you also may know, and hopefully know, that Trinity Food Ministry is one of the ministries that we have been supporting during this time of the year when we have our annual giving tree. I mistakenly at the 8 o'clock service invited people to take any ornaments that were left on the tree, forgetting that Jacqueline had told me earlier in the week that all of them had been taken. So that's a good problem to have. I'm very happy to introduce to you Faith Sandler. Faith is a member of Trinity Episcopal Church in the West End, where she has been since 2010, and she also serves as a member of the vestry there. And she and her mother, Judy, who is also here today, are both volunteers in the Trinity Food Ministry. Judy welcomes and registers community members, and Faith provides harm reduction supplies. Faith has a master's degree in cultural anthropology from WashU, and as she put it, her day job is she serves as the executive director of the Scholarship Foundation of St. Louis, and she has been in that position for over 30 years. So Faith, thank you so much for being here. We look forward to hearing more about the Trinity Food Ministry.
Thank you, Father David. Can you hear me in the back? Yes. Okay. Up a little more. Now can you hear me? Better? Yeah. Okay. I am so excited to see you here. I have heard about your parish and about your commitment to the work that we do in Trinity Food Ministry. I have met some of you in passing as volunteers and as you're delivering your contributions. And for me, it's an honor and a joy to pinch hit this morning for the Reverend Deacon Barbie Click, who tells me that she visits with you each year and that there is no congregation in this region more supportive, more engaged in the work that we are doing at the food ministry than this one. So it's my honor to be with you. I have a set of slides I'm going to walk through. I'm going to try to speak about them so that you don't feel you have to read each word, but I will leave them with you if there are questions or if you'd like to refer to them at a later point. I wish to thank Father David for inviting us to be here and for all the support that you provide through the years and through the months. Here's what we think we want to thank you for. There may be more on this list that I missed. But first of all, the time that you give. St. Peter's gives the food ministry time in prayer, in your ingathering of items that are vitally important to our guests at ministry, in your cooking and serving on the regular rotation of Sunday meals, in your delivering to us, in your volunteering. You also give considerable treasure in your prayer, in the connections that you make for and with us and our guests and our parish, in the shoes and socks, thanks be to God, that you provide for people who must get almost everywhere on their feet all year round, and for essential non-perishable food that you deliver to us. I am told this amounts to about 70 bags, 70 bags, of non-perishable goods monthly. Monthly. In addition, in COVID and in other times, you provided money for us to figure out a creative way to help people who couldn't get to us at a time when the pantry was closed or we were not able to be in face-to-face communication with our people. And we're deeply grateful for that. Here are some fast facts about where we are post-COVID as a food ministry. We have 2 paid staff who lead a weekly core of about 25 volunteers at the food ministry. Those volunteers source, stock, cook, welcome, register, serve, distribute, clean up, and pray with our parish members who come for food. We have 8 congregations, 6 businesses, and 4 nonprofit organizations who contribute regularly in kind to the food ministry. We serve 400 people monthly, most of whom reside within walking distance or originate within walking distance and we serve them without means testing, without asking them to prove how poor they may be, or any other qualification for service other than showing up and needing what we have to offer. About 1/4 of the people we serve are unhoused, but probably at least half of the people we serve are housing insecure, meaning that they live in a place without income to pay the bills for that place, without utilities, or actually without permission to occupy that place. What do we provide? We provide hot meals, groceries and incidentals, a parish nurse, emergency items because extreme weather can hit our people extremely hard, clothing, shoes, socks, hats, gloves are in great demand at this moment, as you can imagine, with temperatures changing, and harm reduction supplies. Father David mentioned this. This is what I do at the pantry. Brace yourself, but these are supplies necessary for saving lives while we work to improve the quality of life that those who come to Trinity Food Ministry live. So, condoms, fentanyl test strips, and Narcan. If you've not heard of Narcan, this is a nasal spray that reverses an opioid overdose. And I brought a spare pack to keep with your first aid supplies, just in case this parish does not have one. We provide these to members of our community who have family members, loved ones, and neighbors who are suffering tremendously from the current overdose epidemic. We are open for our guests at Food Pantry Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, during our coffee hours at Trinity. At each red door to our building, we find people looking for help, and on our front steps. We have a Saturday art club. We have a foot ministry, as you well know, which includes not only those shoes and socks, but careful and qualified care and tending to the feet of our people on Maundy, Thursday, and warming and cooling in our sanctuary in extreme weather. Here's where we are. Probably many of you are familiar, but we are located right smack on what we call in this region the Del Mar Divide, somewhere between Fountain Park and Forest Park. You may be more familiar with Forest Park. We are located in what some folks call the Central West End, and which most of our food pantry guests would refer to as the West End, because for them it doesn't end at Del Mar. And we are located at one of the state and nation's epicenters of opioid overdose. Why do we do what we do in the food ministry? You already know this. You heard this in our opening prayer today. But Trinity was founded, the food ministry was founded about 50 years ago. And since then and still, our mission is to be as Christ in the midst of the people. When we do this for the least of these, so we do it for Christ. We offer food to those who are hungry, give drink to those who thirst, offer basic clothes to those who are without, invite people to sit and to rest, and tend to those who are sick. If you had the entire document, and I know you're sorry I didn't bring it and won't read it to you, depicting our congregation and our parish's core values, you'd see some of these words I've put here, just as kind of key words so you can think of why we do what we do. We wish to love our neighbors in public. We see ourselves as a parish, not within the walls, but beyond the walls as a geographic region in which we care for those who may not attend services on Sunday with us. We have an ethic of service for the poor and the vulnerable. We want people to know and be known at Trinity. This is true for our volunteers as well as food ministry guests. We are a refuge, a place of belonging. We provide spiritual and physical nourishment, and every day we work to assist those who are carrying heavy burdens, both physically and otherwise. To know and to be known at Trinity Food Ministry. This is a quote from one of our volunteers who is known by their service at our ministry. People trust us to love them. In return, we are loved. This group of people you see here includes people who desperately need food, people who volunteer, people who are paid to work, people who come to church to worship, people who come to church to be nourished in the food ministry, and you'd be hard-pressed to guess by appearance or otherwise who's who in that mix. That's the community we seek. This is a quote from my friend over my left shoulder here, and she was clear in her first sentence to me when we met a couple of weeks ago. I am not homeless. I knew if I came here, I wouldn't be hassled. I could rest a minute. Her story is this. She left town for a period of months, maybe a year. She returned to St. Louis with almost nothing. She went to her childhood home and found that her mother, her aged mother, she's 65, so her mother, considerably older, had passed away in her absence. The home was vacant and had been burned out. Yet she told me this, I live there. I am not homeless. I'm safe there. I don't know how long I'll be able to stay because there's no utilities and no heat. And from time to time, creatures come in. They don't scare me. I know how to deal with them. But I don't go down the block to where the bonfire is because I don't feel safe and cannot be warm there. Here, I feel safe. What she wanted was a pair of shoes, and when I tell you the ones she wore showed how many miles she'd put on them. What she wanted was food she could carry back home on foot. She has no other way to get the food there. And what she really wanted was a way to stop at the White Castles that's on the way for something warm to eat. This is another one of our, this set of guests at the food pantry epitomize those carrying heavy burdens. This is what they have to say. We have 4 generations to feed and a severely disabled niece. What else can we do but help each other as best we can? In case you're wondering, here's what's coming next for us, and here's what it would be beautiful to have your support in doing at Trinity Food Ministry. We plan to and would like to increase the goods in the food pantry. If you think of food pantry, it used to be where you got a bag from us when you showed up at the door and you didn't have any say in what went in the bag. We now, for several years, shortly before COVID, we created a choice pantry, which means when you come in, you get a cart. It's not exactly a shopping cart. Do you see this AV cart over here? It's a lot like that, probably. It's a repurposed thing with wheels that you can put your food on. As you move around a circle of tables, you might get food, you might choose food, you might also choose shampoo, toothpaste, toilet paper. I work right next to that table, and when I hear the phrase, "Do you need toilet paper?" I think, who doesn't? Who doesn't? It's not going to go bad. I would never say no to that question. Harm reduction supplies, which I mentioned, as well as clothing, socks, gloves, whatever might be the current need to walk back out the door and stay comfortable and safe as we can on the street. So we want to increase the goods we offer so that there's more choice and less of a feeling of scarcity, like I have to grab anything and everything I can. The feeling of scarcity not only affects our guests, but it really affects our volunteers. It is horrible, but necessary for us to say you can only have 2 rolls of toilet paper, for instance. Or, I'm sorry, we have no lotion. Or, the only beans we have are garbanzo. We'd like to add a Wednesday hot meal. This is just about food and fellowship. This would be a way for people in the parish to know there is a place they can go middle of the week for a meal. We'd like to reinstitute the Sunday service in the garden before hot lunch. We'd like very much for the food ministry foot ministry to reconvene this year exactly during Holy Week and provide this service, if we can, to our parish on Maundy, Thursday itself. We request of you your continued gifts of prayer, time, and treasure. We ask that you consider being volunteers when we do get the Wednesday hot meal going. That would be both to serve in the kitchen if you're interested, but also a ministry. This is a small M ministry presence. Much of what we do as volunteers at Food Pantry is sit next to someone, ask them how they're doing, and actually listen to what they have to say. And actually listen. That is ministry in a place like this. Garden worship support, when we do get to weather that allows us to have a short worship outside before the ministry, and you are serving, St. Peter's is serving, join us. Let us know if some of you can lead in song, attend, pray with the people, be with the people. And shoes, again, and still, and socks, and volunteers, anyone who's interested, we have room and a job. And I think that concludes, I know, that concludes my prepared comments, but I'm assured you will have questions or comments yourself. So let's open this up. Yes, ma'am.
Where are people who are homeless, where can they take a shower? You know, if they have shampoo, soap, so forth, where can they go?
Right.
And get a shower?
Very good question. In St. Louis right now, let me just say that we have some 1,500 chronically homeless people on the streets of the city of St. Louis, and we have 300 beds. So in your prayers at night while your furnace is cranking and you're putting on your flannel pajamas, remember those people who are on the street. The shower itself, there's a place on Delmar called the T, which T stands for trauma, and it is an emergency medical and mental health support for folks who live in the region who need medical care. They do, this is just a dose of reality. They do opioid overdose, and they also do bullet removal, given the number of shootings where folks go to the emergency room, are treated, stabilized, and released, and still have artillery within their body. And they have a beautiful, fully equipped shower with towels and toiletries and that sort of thing. So there, or with cold water in a public restroom somewhere. So that's not a shower, but it is a way to attempt to get and stay clean. So thank you for your question. Yes, ma'am.
I know there are a lot of jobs that are available now. Are people that you're serving incapable of working, getting a job, holding a job?
I don't know what the exact number would be, but I would say probably half of them have some form of employment, or there is some job holder in their family unit or household group. Often it's the wage is not sufficient to support the family. And also the things that come with having first of all, prerequisites to a job, basic things, birth certificate and a form of ID. Most of the people who live on the street have lost that one or more times. So often we need to help people get documented again so that they're eligible to be employed. Transportation is a huge issue. Transportation is a huge issue. And believe it or not, a clean pair of pants and a pair of reasonable shoes can be a huge issue to some forms of employment that our ministry guests seek. So we tend to prioritize. If someone says to us, I got a job, I'm going Tuesday, but I can't go in these shoes. They're falling apart. I need closed, safe shoes. That's where we put our effort. So yes, there are jobs available. It's a matter of the things incidental to the job that can really get in the way. Yes?
Is there a way to, I'm thinking, you showed some women. I normally, when you're asking for shoes, will buy things for men.
Mm-hmm.
So are the women given clothes and shoes and what have you?
We do have clothes and shoes for women also, yes.
But how do they work out sizes and all that sort of thing?
It's
And what I'm
completely random. The shoes, because of the quantity of the shoes, we can organize them in size. And often, women are not particular about whether they're men's shoes or women's shoes in a pair of tennis shoes, for instance.
Okay.
Hate to say it, but men are more particular. We had a person living on the street who had no coat. And we had this down coat, probably this long, khaki color, nothing fancy, nothing that signaled effeminate to me, and he would not take it. It fit him perfectly, but he would not take it because to him it was clearly a woman's coat. So
What I was wondering specifically is I like to shop at like thrift shops.
Uh-huh.
And if there was something specific needed, I could look for that.
Coats, always coats.
Doesn't matter what size.
It does not matter what size. We have people of all sizes.
And then what about
The larger, the better. If you had like a small, extra small coat, we would need less than a handful of those. But anything larger than that, yes, always coats.
Also sweatshirts so they can
Right.
wear multi-layers.
That's right. Sweatshirts, hoodies, layers, and honestly, clean T-shirts. There's a lot of call for men's T-shirts. Again, layering, but also summer. Huge call for that. What other questions? Yes.
I have a question about your foot ministry.
Mm-hmm.
2 questions. Is that taking care of feet? caring for them? And the second question is, do you contact podiatrists or podiatrists? in the
Right.
clinic?
So the question, in case you didn't hear it in the back, is whether the I keep confusing foot and food. Foot ministry engages podiatrists and other professionals in the care, and the answer is yes. So on the normal day, food pantry days, there is a parish nurse present who can provide some level of care, but during the actual foot ministry during Holy Week, there are a number of professional providers who volunteer their services, and volunteers as well who help with sizing shoes and socks. That's the other thing. There are many people who are wearing a pair of shoes that are way too small or way too large for them because it's all they could get. So during that week, we can address both the care, the feeling of being cared for, as well as the physical and medical care and the proper fit. But again, for some of the people at the ministry is the human communication, the touch, the care. So the foot ministry is partially about what it is in the biblical story as well. It is about our service to the care of another, to the least of these. And for some people, having anyone touch and care for and clean and care for their feet is a spiritual experience, as it is to care for. Yes?
Is Etta Taylor still there, and does she teach bread making still?
Oh, that's a fabulous question. Etta is still a member. Etta is out of town for a prolonged period, but she is still involved. In the years I've been there, I've not heard about her teaching bread baking, but for many years she baked the communion bread.
If we're bringing donations like clothes, the food, we have sort of a process for. Is there a better time or day?
There is, and thank you, perfect segue. On your tables are some handouts. It's a really nondescript white piece of paper with a long list. I believe there should be on that list the times that we can accept delivery. Is it on there? Can anybody see it? Okay. What I would say, my friends, is that if those times are not convenient for you, please call our parish office. We'll find another time to meet you and accept your donation. What we don't want is for you to leave it outside the door, because not only does it get damaged by the elements, but it may get ransacked by folks who don't need everything that you've brought, and we'd like to be able to make best use of it.
Can I ask a question of David? Could we do a coat or mittens or drive here at St. Peter's and have just a collection spot?
Sure. Have we done that before?
We have done that in the past. We've done it specifically, so we can look at that. And then we also, I assume, will do the Lenten shoe drive and then ask for the Maundy Thursday. Barbie told me she was wanting to do it on Maundy Thursday
Right.
this year, so foot clinic. But yeah, the youth did lead a winter clothing drive in the past, so we can just see when that would.
I'd love to do one before, sometime in December. Well, this is when the cold time is. Could we just put a notice in those? I'd be willing to help with it.
Yes, we can do that.
And maybe some other people here would help.
And I'd be willing to help transport. So contact me if that comes to pass, and I'll be happy to help with that too. Barbie won't be back until January, but it'll be plenty cold between now and then. Any other questions?
Faith, when you talk about adding a Wednesday meal, what's the schedule now?
Right now, we provide a hot meal during the 2 food pantry times, so Tuesday and Thursday, as well as Sunday afternoon. Right now, during food pantry times, it's packaged like a to-go hot meal, so you grab it, you can sit in the pantry and eat it or take it with you. But Sunday, we have seating and a little bit more hospitality. The Wednesday is intended to be hospitality. seating and a meal together instead of on the fly. I'm sorry.
The question was, would you take used, clean, used,
Yes,
and in good condition, shoes, clothes, anything?
absolutely.
If it's something you don't want, you'll.
Clean, used. What we can't use, we will likely have to discard. What my guidance to you would be, would you give it to a friend or family member? And is it practical? Think about walking in it. Think about whether it's a garment that you could wear to a service job, for instance, and not so much what you might wear to a party, a cocktail party, for instance.
So with respect to the Wednesday meal, could you just sort of describe how you would build that up and who you need to slot into what specialties?
Absolutely. The Wednesday meal would be folks who are comfortable cooking in a small kitchen, and or would bring kind of like you do for the Sunday as well, or would bring pre-prepared dishes that could be reheated, who would serve, who would sit with the people and talk, and who would help clean up. It's pretty basic. It's just like when you're deciding who to invite for Sunday dinner at your house, what are the tasks? Very similar.
How many servings?
That would be a better question for Barbie to answer as we get rolling, but I'm going to tell you that the first week, it'll be 5 or 10. The second week, it'll be 20, and so on and so on. So as long as the food's good, the word will travel. The word will travel. We almost always on Tuesdays and Thursdays deplete all of those to-go meals well before food pantry has ended. So I would tell you to expect a steady Wednesday crowd of 40, 50, probably, by the time, once we're up, once the word has spread. Yes?
Now, on the Wednesday, are you planning that you provide the food, or like I've done some of the Sundays, and the parish provides
Right.
the meal?
I'm going to imagine we're looking for parishes to provide, but let me hold your question for Barbie to answer when she gets this up and rolling. Yes?
Are you thinking of Wednesday as lunch, dinner, or?
Lunch. I'm sorry. Yes, lunch. It's a midday meal.
Like noon or 2 or?
Probably noon.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
midday. The Sunday is 2 because we need to clear
That's what I was.
clear coffee hour and the churchgoers and get to work. Yeah. The only other, Barbie asked me to address one question that this community has asked before, for guidance on what to do if you're approached by someone for money. So what we wanted to suggest, this would be at the mall, on the street, outside Powell Hall, somebody who clearly is coming towards you and is by appearance in need. Barbie suggested the first thing is to see them. You know, some of us do this turn away and not because it is uncomfortable. And no, I do not have cash is a sufficient answer. If you are compelled by the person's situation, think of it in your mind as a gift, not an act of charity, not a public benefit. You're not a social worker. It's not your job to decide. It's rather, if you wish to give freely and expect nothing in return. Hard as that is for us sometimes, view it as a gift. Does that make sense?
Sometimes I wonder it would be good of having a list of either food banks or meals or things and hand them that in
Yeah.
case they don't have that information. And they know apparently where they sort of hang out, and if any of it is, you know, applicable to where they can get to.
That's a good point, and I think that works if you know the local resources. It doesn't work if it's something far away. So, for instance, we can do that at Trinity. If someone approaches us on the steps, we can say, did you know there's a hot meal here 2 hours from now? Feel free to rest in the garden. The door's open at 2 o'clock or 1:30 or whatever it is. Or we have pantry on these days. So we can direct and help. But if someone approaches you in a place where you don't know those resources, honestly, a list, unless it's localized, is probably not as helpful as we wish it would be. It's a little like dialing 211, which is a sort of emergency resource center in this town. Unless I can get to it, it doesn't help me very much. And often the need is urgent, so I don't have time to plan to be hungry. I'm hungry now, kind of thing. So. You're all very somber in your faces. I wish you to know that this is a ministry of love, that each time I walk into pantry, I'm blessed, I'm enriched by the opportunity to be in community with all of the people who come through our door. And I want to thank you for personally making that possible for me, to be in a position where I get to have that connection to community and build those relationships beyond my normal circle every week. It's changed a lot about how I live my days. So thanks to all of you on behalf of the individuals who come to the pantry, as well as Barbie, who will be back with you soon. And thank you, Father David, for the opportunity to be with you today.
Faith, thank you. We appreciate your time, and Judy, it's nice to have you here. Also. Faith, one of the things that I noticed that is up here was continue your gifts of prayer time and treasure. If someone wants to volunteer, how does that happen?
If you want to volunteer, you could give me your name and phone number today, and I will hold on to it until January, because then Barbie will be back. Or you can live your holidays and then get in touch with us after the first of the year. Either one. I would not encourage you to try to get involved this month directly at the ministry, because we'll be closed throughout some of the holiday season, and your experience will be stronger after the first of the year.
Great, thank you. Some of you know Barbie Click. Barbie is a deacon in the church and exercises her ministry in a significant way, as you've been hearing about. She is also involved on the diocesan level in helping to establish some ministries around this type of thing. And she has just recently talked with me about her desire to fund a food truck that will go into some of what are referred to as the thank you, Chris. Food deserts in the city. So that is something that's on the horizon, and that I think will be an extension of not only what's happening at Trinity, but a ministry of our diocese that we, in some way, might have an opportunity to participate in. So again, Faith, thank you so much for taking time to be here today, and thanks to you all for your wonderful support. I saw Jim Gilbert earlier. Is Jim still around? As many of you know, Jim and Bill Gilbert are the ones who load up. They probably are loading the van. That's right. Who load up the van and take what's brought back in grocery bags down to the pantry, and then they also coordinate help us coordinate some other things there. Again, thank you all for being part of this and for your support of Trinity Food Ministry.